Okay, so everybody's here. Today, was going to say a few words on meditation. So we're here today to learn a bit about how to calm the mind down. The mind, a mind which is calm, which is clear. The side effects of that is that you feel good about yourself. And coming to a place like this, we come here to sit cross-legged, close our eyes, and we start looking in our internal world, and we can see what is going on. And a lot, meditation practice is something which is a repetitive thing that a person does. When you think about people who play sports, like great cricket players or basketball players or tennis players, in a sense they were born with a talent. Otherwise they wouldn't pursue that type of sporting career. But to get to the peak of their performance, they had to put in a lot of time. When you read stories or hear stories about these great athletes, they start at a very young age. Sometimes they have to start at the age of 6. Little kids, and they work through the years practicing the same craft, day after day, to get to a point where they can perform on the top level, and that takes years to get there. And through that time of training themselves in their sporting profession, they also learn how to, they also learn what their bodies are capable of doing and what their natural talents are. And so, when you look at it, it's sort of like a training, but then also a learning experience to get to a point of a person being elite at the sport that they're doing. And in the same way, we can look at the meditation practice. We're sort of like little kids starting out, learning how to practice. At the beginning, our minds are unsettled. It's all over the place. It's restless. It's unhappy. It's depressed or whatever. And that's what we're dealt with. And how do we deal with something like that? And in this way of meditation, the way that I've been taught is that a lot of the time when we meditate, we try to be as calm and as peaceful as possible. Giving it time, putting in the hours, trying to make a daily practice, and you just keep on doing it, day in, day out, year in, year out, until the mind starts to settle down, and you can start to see the benefits of this practice. So a lot of meditators, when they come here, when their minds are peaceful, when their minds are calm, they don't ask any questions about that. But when their minds are, unsettled, restless, angry, that's when they start to ask the questions. When there is a problem, they want to fix it. But when everything is okay, people tend to leave things alone. So how do we deal with this mind which is troubling us? And a way of dealing with the mind is to when you're sitting, when your eyes are closed, try not to get too involved with what is going on. Just try to take away all the control. You're sitting down, and sometimes we have an object of meditation, say watching the breath, and in a sense, that is a type of control that you can get. That's a type of control. You're sitting down, your eyes are closed, and you're watching the breath, and there's a sense of control there. You're putting in effort. You're trying to focus, and sometimes that does work. And when it works, the mind does become peaceful. But in other circumstances, when you're trying to watch the breath, it doesn't seem to work. For some reason, the mind doesn't have enough energy to focus on the breath, or for some reason the mind is restless or thinking about something, and because of that, watching the breath doesn't work. And a way of like a way or a method to meditate is to try to take away that controller, trying to take away that doing. So when you're sitting down, you're not trying to do anything, when you're sitting down, you're just allowing things to be, and what happens is that eventually, the mind starts to settle down, and it starts to become clearer. It starts to become peaceful, and when the mind becomes peaceful, it tends to stay there. It tends to stay in the present moment. And that's basically all you have to do. Sometimes I'm just trying to visualize how I meditate, and I'm just trying to explain it to you. And it is sort of like, during your day, in your life, your life is sort of like driving a car. You're in the car, and the car is called life, and you got your hands on the steering wheel of your car. And it could be a Toyota, it could be a Mitsubishi, it could be anything. And this is your life, You jump into your car in the morning, and then, you drive to work, and then you drive home, and then you drive into your house, and then you drive into your bedroom, you drive into the restaurant to get something to eat. Your hands are always on the steering wheel. You're always doing something. You always, there's always that active part of the mind working. So we've been driving around all our lives and coming to a place like this and learning how to meditate or doing some meditation. We are like taking our hands off the steering wheel. We're not driving anymore. We're not doing anything. We're not controlling anything. And sometimes when you sit down and you decide to just completely let go of the controller, of the doer, you're sitting down and you're relaxing. You're not trying to watch the breath. You're not trying to do metta. You're not trying to do anything. You're just doing nothing. And you're just sitting there and observing what is happening. And this process of meditating, the results don't really come straight away, but it takes a while for the results to happen, for peace to arise. And what happens is when you take your hands off the steering wheel, of your Toyota or your Mazda or whatever you drive, the car loses control. It swerves to the left. It skids, it burns out. And that sort of happens to your mind when you start doing this type of meditation. The letting go, letting be, the relaxing, the calming, the non-doing type of meditation is like taking your hands off that steering wheel. The car starts to lose control. And in the same way, your mind starts to lose control. The mind becomes restless. And the reason it becomes restless is because of, the carryover effect. Things that you've been doing during the day. And that reappears in your meditation. And this is what you experience at the beginning of the meditation, or maybe during the middle, or maybe for the whole meditation. Sometimes the mind is like that, you don't know what to expect. But as soon as you take off your hands off the steering wheel, the car loses control. But then, because you've listened to the Buddhist teachings, the car becomes like the Buddha car. And it sort of like straightens itself out. And it takes yourself towards peace and towards, calm and stillness. So what I'm trying to say is for the next 45 minutes, when you're meditating, just try to be as calm as possible. Don't worry what is happening in the mind. It's an attitude that we are trying to develop. If you can develop a kind and gracious attitude towards your mind, an attitude that doesn't find fault with what is happening. When we start finding fault with the mind, then we start to develop negativity towards this meditation practice. And what happens is that after a while, we don't want to meditate anymore. So what we do is we create this good attitude towards the mind and understand and have confidence that if you meditate enough and if you meditate correctly, the mind will start calming down by itself. And that's what the Buddha said. He taught the gradual training, and this is one of my favorite ones, is when he talks about how a person who practices moves from one step to another. It's like from virtue, they have no remorse, and then from no remorse, they get tranquility of the body, and then from that, tranquility of the mind, and then you get energy, and then you get, concentration or samadhi. It's a natural process. But in this sutta, he says that you do not need a will, you don't need a control to be able to move onto the next step of the process. And when I read that, I thought to myself, oh, thank goodness. I don't have to do anything when I meditate. All I've got to do is just sit down and just relax and just allow the whole process to unfold by itself. But nevertheless, when you're sitting down, there's one thing that I would like to encourage, and that is to just try to be aware, try to know what is going on. And what I mean is that, sometimes when we're meditating, we sort of like drift off, we sort of daydream. We're off to like another dimension. And to me, that's not being aware, that's not being in the moment. There's a lack of clarity there. So when we're sitting down, we just try to know what is going on. It doesn't have to be perfectly still. You don't need to be watching the breath. It can be restless, it can be sleeping, but just try to know what is going on. Just be aware of it. And then you just see how things unfold. So, yeah, that's all I would like to say, and we can start meditating. Does anybody have any questions? It was actually quite nice to just come in here at the beginning of the meditation session. It was very quiet and it had a nice atmosphere. So I thought all I had to do was just give a few instructions and then you can just go off by yourself and meditate. So does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. So, Ike in Germany, how can I overcome boredom in meditation? Why sitting, breathing and watching stuff come and go is so boring? Where is the joy in that? Can I have some kind of advice? This question about boredom in the meditation. I think if your mind is busy and thinking about stuff, how can that be boring? You know what I mean. When you're thinking about stuff, you're thinking about stuff that you like. So yeah. I think the reason why you find it boring is because there could be some craving there. You're craving for peaceful states of mind, and because it isn't happening, then you're finding the meditation is becoming boring. So that is, boredom is a cause. Is a cause. Boredom comes from like craving. You know, if you're craving for peace, if you're craving for the deep states of meditation, then if you don't get it, then your mind starts to wander or starts to dislike what is happening in the meditation. And when you think about the word boredom, it's something that you don't like to do. You know, sometimes, some people at school, if they don't like to go to school and the teacher's teaching them maths or science or something like that, because they don't like it, they become bored. So if boredom does arise in the meditation practice, sometimes we can try to, add a bit more joy into the practice. Try to when you meditate, try to look for the peace that's already there in your mind. And if your meditation is, working and it is going along smoothly, then you'll find some enjoyment, some pleasure, and through that pleasure, that's how you overcome the boredom in the meditation practice. So pleasure, the mental pleasure is, an important factor of this meditation practice, and it's one of the causes for the mind to become a lot more peaceful, a lot more still, and a lot more content. And when the mind starts to become content and at ease with itself, then it can meditate for long periods of time. It doesn't get bored with the meditation practice. It actually starts to become interested in the way the mind works. You start to become fascinated, and that fascination, creates like a passion and a love for this meditation, and that keeps you going. Because it keeps you going, it keeps you wanting more, it keeps you practicing, because intuitively, in some way you understand that this is leading you somewhere great, this is leading you somewhere good. And next question is Karuna in Indonesia. Sometimes during meditation, I suddenly feel heat arise inside my body until I sweat. Could you please explain why that might happen and how to overcome it? So with the body, sometimes when you are not relaxed, when you are too tense, then a reaction could be that the body starts to heat up and sweat. When you meditate, you're trying to relax, you're trying to calm down. And once the body calms down, once it relaxes, then, it stays relaxed. It doesn't get hot, it doesn't get cold. It's in a cool and comfortable position. So if you're feeling, if there's heat arising in your body and you're sweating, maybe it's time to just get up and maybe try to do some walking meditation, or maybe stretch for 5 minutes, physically relax your body, get it comfortable, and then return to your meditation. Yep. Any questions? No? No? Okay.